Sasha Banks is officially done with WWE after the two sides could not come to terms on finance details on a new WWE contract. Did WWE feel that the likes of Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair were worth more than Sasha Banks? We've also got an update on her future with New Japan Pro Wrestling, specifically the dates that she has agreed to. Speaking of Sasha Banks though, Naomi, she now has a decision to make. She wanted to return to WWE with Sasha Banks, but Banks isn't returning. What is she going to do? Matt Riddle, of course, he's been suspended for allegedly violating the wellness policy for the second time. However, some sources close to Riddle deny that is the case. Got the latest details on his absence from WWE television. Mandy Rose has been the topic of conversation this week after her WWE firing. But did WWE give her the choice to remove all of this explicit content from her page? Got the latest details on her departure from the company. William Regal is set to be rejoining WWE. Got the latest details on his new role with the company when he returns next year. And would Vince McMahon returning to WWE mean the company would be scorched earth? Got the latest details on some insiders talking about the former CEO's return. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE. Now, we've already done a WWE news video today, but there's just so much going on that I've got to do another one, and then I'm going to do an AEW news video. We're going to have a 3-video day today because there's so much going on in the world of pro wrestling. Let's start off talking about the boss, Sasha Banks. Her departure from WWE has now been confirmed. She's going to be appearing with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Is she going to be appearing with AEW? Well, let's take it one bit at a time. One thing we do know is that the boss is done with WWE, and the reason why she is done is because possibly the two sides, WWE and Sasha Banks, could not come to terms financially on a new contract, with WWE feeling that she wasn't worth as much money as names such as Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Let's talk about her departure first. This comes from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, who is reporting that Sasha Banks, also known as Mercedes Varnado, has been the subject of much speculation, of course, recently, but Sean Ross Sapp is reporting that they have gained some clarity on some details regarding her pro wrestling future. It was reportedly confirmed to Fightful that Mercedes' WWE exit was negotiated, quote, months ago, which was likely when Raj Giri of Wrestling Inc. reported as such. He did report several months ago that over the summer, Banks' exit had been confirmed. It never got actually widely confirmed by other outlets and by WWE, so people were criticizing Raj, scrutinizing Raj, saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Well, who's laughing now? Certainly not Raj, certainly Raj, rather, because he's saying, I was right all along. He was right all along. However, WWE, they've yet to officially confirm this. She still remains on the company's website as of right now, but she is gone indeed from the company. It was also reiterated to Fightful that Sasha Banks was able to take wrestling-related bookings on January 1st, something Fightful Select had previously reported around the sort of full time this year. When Fightful reportedly asked if that was, quote, contractual, they were told that indeed it was, and they were informed that WrestleCade was far from the only wrestling-related operation making attempts to try and book Banks, with other conventions that close to her claimed were interested. Fightful are reporting that they were told that conventions went to great lengths to be able to book her before January 1st, but it couldn't happen because of these contractual commitments. Beyond that, they were also informed that New Japan Pro Wrestling, that deal is indeed a go and was agreed upon as far back as the last week of November, so certainly several weeks ago now. Those that Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp have spoken to, familiar with the deal, said they haven't heard anything regarding All Elite Wrestling and Mercedes as of right now, but also stated that doesn't mean that it's not happening. So certainly the deal with AEW could be a possibility. They don't have confirmation on that, but certainly the New Japan Pro Wrestling deal, that is a go. That is confirmed. WWE, they've still yet to confirm Banks' departure, but certainly now multiple outlets are confirming Banks is indeed gone from WWE, and you have to give him his flowers, you have to give him his credit. Raj Giri was the first to report that indeed it was done over the summer. Now, why couldn't the two parties come to terms? Well, this is where it gets really, really interesting. Of course, Initially, Banks and Naomi were suspended indefinitely for allegedly walking out of the May 16 episode of Monday Night Raw. Since the initial suspension, several conflicting reports surfaced indicating that Banks would be heading back to the company. However, this is seemingly no longer the case. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter has now provided further insight into the former multi-time WWE Women's Champion's negotiations with her former employer, noting that a return was discussed following the regime change, although the two sides are believed to have been far apart on the financial side of things. Meltzer writes, quote, "She and WWE did not reach terms for a new contract. WWE directly wouldn't say anything about her, but those in the company over recent months had said the sides were not close on money. She and WWE reached an agreement in the summer regarding her leaving, and the agreement was they would release her to be a free agent rather than freeze her deal. But she couldn't do anything with wrestling until the start of 2023. In the fall, with the regime change, she was back in negotiations to return, and it was considered that it was close to being a done deal, aside from the money figure, and the two sides ended up being far apart." So just to reiterate there, what Meltzer is saying is that basically, the Vince McMahon regime negotiated an exit for Banks from the company. They said, we're not going to freeze your contract, we'll let you go. With the proviso, you can't do anything pro wrestling related until January of next year. Then, of course, Vince McMahon retires. There's the regime change. Triple H rises to power. Triple H is then in talks with Sasha Banks to put a deal back together. People within the company thought indeed she was going to return, but once they actually started talking again, they were miles apart when it came to money, so they couldn't come to terms. Now, regarding how much Venado is believed to have asked for to make a return to WWE, Meltzer revealed that the number is around the same ballpark as fellow former multi-time women's champions Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Per the report, the company ultimately decided that they wouldn't be getting a big enough return on their investment due to the level that they currently value Banks at as a performer. Quote, "She was said to be seeking a number along the levels of Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, and those internally have said she wasn't offered numbers close to that. They said she's not seen internally as someone who would be on top for the next 5 years, but is seen as someone who could get a singles or tag team title run, but has peaked as a star, aside from the reality that was acknowledged that if she was to return, there would be a, quote, honeymoon period where people would go nuts for her." That is certainly a really, really damning idea and a really, really damning prognosis, certainly by WWE there. Certainly it very much is. Now, when it comes to her New Japan Pro Wrestling dates, what's going to be happening with that? Meltzer says, quote, "The deal is with New Japan, but would include one date for Stardom. That would be for a show that is expected in April, but the company had planned for the biggest show in its history, which would tentatively be announced on the December 29 at the Stardom Sumo Hall show. This show was the show we had talked about previously, believed to be at a venue near Tokyo. The logic of bringing Banks into New Japan Pro Wrestling was outlined by Meltzer, who explained, quote, "They are hoping that her crossover appeal to WWE fans and Star Wars fans can help them with one major show, with the idea of that show to build the perception to the public of the company. Their belief is that with 5.6 million Instagram followers and 2.4 million Twitter followers, far more than any of their talent, that she has gigantic mainstream appeal." Sasha Banks, of course, has appeared in 2 episodes of The Mandalorian under her real name Mercedes Venado. It had also been proposed, or certainly been put out there, that she was making more than Chris Jericho was even making under the New Japan Pro Wrestling deal that he had. Now, Jericho, being Chris Jericho, saw this and went, "No, I'm not going to have that put out there. No way. I'm not going to have someone out there say that they're making more money than me in New Japan Pro Wrestling." And Jericho tweeted, quote, "For the record, the money I reportedly made during my run with New Japan from 2018 to 2020 online currently is completely wrong. I never had a flat per appearance deal. I was paid according to the event, and I made more per event than I did for most of my WrestleMania matches." So Jericho saying, I'm not happy about that. There is so much to get into with that Sasha Banks report there, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I think that WWE valuing Sasha Banks less than Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, I think is a real slap in the face to Sasha Banks. And I think I'd have the exact same reaction if I were Sasha Banks. What's the difference? I don't see the difference. I think she absolutely has earned the right to ask for a similar amount. Maybe if she came in and said, I want more than Becky Lynch, I want more than Charlotte Flair, you'd say, well, I don't know about that one, because I feel like you're kind of all on a par with each other there. But to say and to have WWE's perspective, really, that she's not on the level of those two females, and she's peaked as a star. Sasha Banks isn't even in her 30s yet. I mean, let's be honest about all of this. Sasha Banks is still incredibly young. Well, she turned 30 last year. She turns 31 in January. So to say that she's peaked as a star is laughable. She's barely entered her prime as a talent, as a performer, as a superstar. And she's already started branching into Hollywood. She's already started branching into TV shows, to film roles, to music, to fashion. She comes from a famous family. So to say that she's peaked as a star, I think, is a massive slap in the face. Look what she's achieved in WWE. She was one half of the first ever black female main event in WrestleMania history. She's won the Raw Women's Championship. She's won the SmackDown Women's Championship. She's won the Women's Tag Team Championship. She's a brilliant worker. She's a good promo. She had a fantastic match. One of the matches, she was on the first ever NXT TakeOver show in Brooklyn, and she stole the show with Bayley. And you're saying to me, yeah, she's not as big of a star though as Charlotte Flair. Why? Because her last name's Flair. Is that what you're really saying? Becky Lynch? Maybe. Because Becky Lynch does have that cross-platform appeal, but so does Sasha Banks. She's in the Star Wars universe. She's on a Disney Plus show. I know Becky Lynch was meant to be in a Marvel movie. She was meant to be in The Eternals. Her scene from the post-credit scene got cancelled, but she'll probably end up doing something in the future with that. But to just write Sasha Banks off and say, you're not as big of a star as Charlotte Flair, or you're not as big of a star as Becky Lynch, and you don't deserve to get paid as much. Are you kidding me? Charlotte Flair, when was the last time Charlotte Flair did 12 months of television, by the way? She's constantly having time off. Now, at least with Becky Lynch, you can say, well, she went away to become a mother. You know, that is what that is. But Sasha Banks, I mean, I think that's such a slap in the face. And if that was the case, I think, first of all, considering how it ended with her in WWE with the Vince McMahon stuff and the John Laurinaitis stuff, and women's wrestling, women's tag team wrestling certainly not being valued, and her walking away in the manner that she did, she would certainly have a sour taste in her mouth. So if she comes back and says, I want to get paid what Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair get paid, bear in mind, she's achieved pretty much what they've achieved and done what they've done in the company. She's well within her rights to ask for that. And when they say no, you go, okay, well, I'm not going to come back. I'll go elsewhere. I'll do other stuff. And I'll prove my value elsewhere. It sounds very, I mean, we brought him up because he disputed one of the original reports about how much he was getting paid, but it sounds very Chris Jericho, doesn't it? Chris Jericho had a similar kind of thing with WWE. We don't think you're worth this amount. We don't think your star's as big. We think you've passed your peak and we passed your prime. And at least with Jericho, it made kind of sense. I mean, the guy was in his late 40s. So you go, well, okay, I kind of understand that. Sasha Banks is 30 years old. I mean, I find, to me, it's almost like I don't believe it, because it almost sounds like, Sasha Banks almost turning down WWE, and then WWE scrambling PR-wise and going, well, she's not even that big of a star anyway. I think she's peaked. Well, okay. And it'll be interesting to see how well Sasha Banks' run in New Japan does, or how well her run, if she does go to AEW, does. Because I'd certainly, if it was me, I'd have a massive chip on my shoulder right now. To be told you're not a draw, or to be told that your star has peaked at 30, 30, I think I'd have a chip on my shoulder when it came to that. I certainly would. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, her tag team partner, Naomi, what's going to happen with her? It's slightly different, this one, when it comes to Naomi, because obviously she walked out with Sasha Banks, and a lot of the discussion about Banks' return has been linked to Naomi's return, thinking that they'd return as a tag team. Well, It seems as if Sasha Banks' next step, of course, will be to wrestle in Japan, with her reportedly scheduled to be at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th. But Naomi's future is still up in the air. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer is reporting that Naomi originally wanted to return alongside Sasha Banks, but with that now seeming unlikely, she now has a decision to make regarding her next move, saying, quote, "Regarding Trinity Fatu, Naomi, who left with Banks and nothing has been said about her, we were told that she has to make a decision. Originally, she wanted to come back with Banks as a tag team and was told her decision would be to sit home. To go elsewhere, her contract was about to expire when she left, although they could freeze it and force her back for a very short period of time, but that really wouldn't make sense. Or to return without Banks." So basically, she's got a couple of decisions to make at this point. She has to decide, I wanted to come back with Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks isn't coming back to WWE. So do I come back without her? Or do I do what Sasha Banks is doing? Do I go elsewhere? My gut says I think she'll probably return to WWE. Her family's still there. Her husband still works there. I know that's not the be-all and end-all of the world nowadays. But with the regime change, given the fact of how long she spent with that company, she was with WWE and has been with WWE. I don't know if she still technically is at this point, but for a really, really long time. And, we're talking from, 2010, 2009, around that period. So she was there for 12 years this year, over 12 years. So my gut feeling is that she'll go back. But anything's possible. Anything's certainly possible. And again, this is where it's a different one. If Naomi went to WWE and said, I want the same money as Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, you'd say, well, no disrespect, but you're just not on that level in terms of star power, in terms of name recognition. Yes, you've been the SmackDown Women's Champion. Yes, you've won Women's Tag Team titles. Yes, you're a brilliant worker and experienced, but there's levels to this kind of stuff. And that would when you go, well, that is silly. But I think Sasha Banks is a different conversation. So Naomi, though, I do expect her to return to WWE at some point. Now, one name that's away from WWE TV at the moment is Riddle, and a big explosive report this week suggested that Riddle was gone for 6 weeks because he failed a second drugs test of the year, and that meant he was forced and had to go to a mandatory rehabilitation process of at least 30 days. Now, of course, on the December 5th episode of Raw, Matt Riddle was viciously attacked by the Bloodline's street champion Solo Sikoa. The King of Bros left the show in an ambulance and was written off TV following an unsuccessful attempt to win the Undisputed Tag Team Championships alongside Kevin Owens. Now, it was reported earlier this week by Bodyslam.net's Cassidy Haynes that this was as a result of Riddle failing a drugs test and needing to go to rehab, though there has since been some discourse surrounding whether or not this is the case. Dave Meltzer has written today in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and it's important we get this correct here. Dave Meltzer has written that one source close to Matt Riddle has disputed the idea that the star is going to rehab and instead suggests that he is simply taking some time off due to ongoings in his personal life, saying, quote, "One source close to Riddle denied the story, saying he was taking time off because of pressure of going through a divorce. However, there have been other sources close to Riddle that haven't said anything, which could be certainly more of a real truer indication as to what's going on." Now, Cassidy Haynes, he's seen this on social media, the guy that originally wrote the report, and again, he's very reputable, was first to break the story of Bryan Danielson going to AEW last year. He tweeted out, quote, "I stand by my report. This has made me laugh a bunch, though." Sean Ross Sapp also tweeted out saying, quote, "I'd heard the stuff Body Slam story was accurate and saw a lot of stuff to back it up." And in fairness, other people are saying, well, Meltzer wasn't necessarily suggesting that the story wasn't accurate. He was just saying that a couple of sources close to Riddle said it wasn't true, whereas other people aren't saying anything. So the general gist is that whilst there might be one source denying that it is true, the chances are it probably is true in this case. Now, Mandy Rose, we did a video, we've done several videos talking about Mandy Rose, her departure from the company. Now, one thing that I asked earlier today that I wasn't sure on, and that was that once the likes of Shawn Michaels, Matt Bloom, and WWE found out about these explicit photos, or the controversial photos, shall we say, on her fan time page, did WWE give her the option of taking the photos down? Did they say to her, stop doing this content, we're taking the title off you, but we'll suspend you or we'll work it out? Dave Meltzer writes about this in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and certainly it's quite interesting. The report also revealed that Rose is believed to have been released without having the option to delete her fan time content, with WWE WWE believing the situation to be different to the times that their superstars have had private photos leaked due to Rose's photos and videos being uploaded to sites for paying customers, saying, quote, "It is believed she was fired without being given the option to take the stuff down and tone down her site. Those in the company felt that they had no other choice than to fire her because she was an active performer on the roster, and these were public photos and videos for customers, unlike several of the women stars who have had their personal private photos hacked and released without their knowledge. Several male stars as well have, or permission, where the company saw the talent as victims." Again, it's unknown at this point in time if she's going to be continuing to wrestle outside of WWE. Certainly, I think it is interesting there that WWE didn't give her the choice to take the content down, or didn't give her the choice to tone down the website, even though other reports, such as Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful Select, suggested that the impression was she didn't want to take the content down. So clearly there's something missing there, certainly. Now, when it came to what she could do outside of WWE, if she wants to scratch that pro wrestling itch, Tommy Dreamer, an executive at Impact Wrestling, has said that she could go to Impact or AEW, saying, quote, "If she doesn't go to AEW, 1000% Impact would love to have you because you're a star and you're great in the ring. And if AEW doesn't jump on that, hell, Impact will. Hey, Mandy Rose, call me, text me, DM me." So, as I said before, Mandy Rose will be fine. She's making a ton of money now through her website anyway. She was anyway. She's making more money, allegedly, through her website than she was with WWE. And if she wants to continue to wrestle and get some TV exposure, it will be with Impact. Certainly won't be as much exposure on television than it would be with WWE. But if she wants to wrestle, she can go to Impact or possibly AEW, although I feel like with this situation, AEW might wait off a little bit, but we'll wait and see. William Regal, of course, is returning to WWE next year, and as far as what his position will be in WWE when he does return, Dave Meltzer has written in the Wrestling Observer newsletter saying, quote, "Regal will have a vice president position in WWE when he starts in January, so it's far more than working as a coach to help train his son. If his position involves recruiting, he's now got a personal coach relationship with a lot of the younger talent in AEW. Regal has recently broken his silence with the wrestling rumor mill, taking to Twitter to say, quote, "There seems to be a lot of news about me getting spread around. There's enough people who really know me, although they are few, as trust is a big issue of me, who know the truth. Unless you hear it from me directly, it is at best secondhand information." So Dave Meltzer kind of alluding that maybe William Regal might have some inside sources now with AEW, with the competition. I'll let the rumor mill discuss that one itself. Finally, we spoke about Vince McMahon earlier on and his desire to return to WWE. And it's quite interesting, actually, that Dave Meltzer, and we kind of touched on this earlier, but I had to get this bit in because this is something that I had speculated about could happen if Vince McMahon did indeed want to return to WWE. And Dave Meltzer has received a quote from a, quote, longtime supporter of McMahon, just kind of demonstrating how bad it would be for WWE if Vince McMahon were to return. It says, quote, "What if he decided to upend the entire board? He has 80% voting stock and is still the largest owner of common stock," noted one longtime supporter. "The class action shareholder lawsuits would cripple the entire company. The networks would bulk. Fox had to get rid of Roger Ailes. I don't think they will be favorable to his return. NBCU is a prisoner of the deal, and even they spoke up about his TV appearances when he was in the headlines and still appearing on TV. The shareholder revolt would endanger the entire organization. This was a terrible shot today to the moving forward business as usual claim that was implemented by Stephanie Levesque and Nick Khan. Now the conspiracy theories will be about Vince coming back. If he comes back, it's a scorched earth scenario, unless he figures a lesser role, and how can he of all people take a lesser role? But the leak is from his side, is that he was given bad advice and now he's blaming people. He stands to make so much money in a stock sale if he lets these TV negotiations go smoothly. Now the networks have to ask, what is going on with Vince? And it's a good point as we enter TV negotiations next year. What happens when Fox says, is Vince coming back? What happens if NBCU say, is Vince coming back? Can we put something in the contract that says if Vince comes back, we can get out? Anything's possible, and it's just the beginning, you feel like, of another soap opera drama with WWE. But there you go, guys. That's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.